Hello and welcome to this edition of Wildcat Week. I'm Roger Alcock. The women's basketball team faced off against their rivals in Taylor University on Wednesday night. The Wildcats came back after being down in the first half and went on a 22-12 run in the third quarter. They went on to win this game by a final score of 74-66. Leading the Wildcats was junior Nicole Ignashik, 22 points, 8 rebounds. Senior Brittany Washington, double-double, 15 points and 10 assists. And then sophomore Carly Lang had 13 points and 5 rebounds. Well, joining me now to talk about this big win at home in the conference for all the marbles is Coach Ethan Whaley. And it really was not hyperbole here. It was, I thought, the biggest game of the year on your schedule. I mean, the way things were shaping up in terms of the conference, how well they had been playing, what you guys want to accomplish. You needed to respond against Taylor, and I thought you did.
Yeah, you know, you could look at it from a lot of different angles, and every one, it's a must-win game for us. And we went into it talking about the last time we played. Taylor out-toughed us, wasn't even close. And so the challenge this week was who's going to be the tougher team, and I felt like our players responded.
Well, I was kind of joking a little bit before we went on air, but a game Charles Dickens would be proud of because it really was a tale of two halves. That first half was kind of scary. And quite frankly, you got down, by 15? And you cut that lead to 9 right before the break. That was huge because if they jump out to a 20-point lead or something like that, you could be in trouble. Yeah,
it's tough to dig yourself out of a hole like that. But I think, again, the tougher team won in the first half. We gave up 10 offensive rebounds, and Taylor scored 17 second-chance points. We were forcing the shots that we wanted them to take. Obviously, we just weren't finishing plays.
And that was the frustrating thing because offensively, you're doing some things really well, getting good shots. They just had so many more opportunities than the Wildcats did because of offensive rebounds. You said it. 17 second chance points off of 10 offensive rebounds, and that had to change.
Yeah. I mean, everybody wanted to know what my halftime speech was. It was just a polite, please rebound, ladies, and we'll be in a good spot. So I love the way that we worked the ball offensively in the paint. Points were 42-14 at the end of the game, so I felt like we really made a statement. And actually executed really well on some inbounds plays, got that wide open layup for Dayton Groninger. And Taylor, I thought, you know, they came in, you said they were the tough team playing well, but they had the momentum. They hit some big shots. But to me, another key was, even in the first half, their big player, Bradbury, you didn't let her, you know, take control of the game either half. You held her to what? Half her average in terms of scoring, and actually half her average in rebounding. And so, even in the first half, that was a factor. Yeah, I mean, she's a really good player. There's a reason she's up for National Player of the Year. And you know, all you can do with a player like that, with that special talent, is you just got to make her work for her points. She's going to get her points because she's that good, but if you can make her earn them and not give her easy ones, put her on the line, it bodes well for us.
Well, right here is a point you're down by 12, but I think it was Katie Key who hit a big three there, her lone three of the night. That made it back to single digits. You know, boy, they're even their bench. Nestle there hit a three there. But what I liked is you got down big. You guys, I don't think I ever sensed panic. You just kind of stuck with what you're doing. And we talked about a 22-12 run. That 22-12 run actually began in the second quarter, that tail end of the second quarter, and it continued on to the third quarter. So you had to finish the second quarter solid.
Yeah, you know, I think it was about the 3 or 4 minute mark. I challenged him in a timeout. I was a little bit heated about our rebounding, and from that point on, you know, our goal was let's just get this thing under 10 going into the half, and we feel really good about it, and we certainly did that.
And they're in the third quarter. Now it's a back and forth game. This whole third quarter, it's going back and forth. You hit big shots. Carly Lang, there's 2 players in the second half that stepped up big time. Carly Lang and Brittany Washington. Brittany was really outstanding in the second half. But you needed someone else who's going to score for you, and I thought Carly provided that.
Yeah, she was in foul trouble. I think she scored 2 points in the first half. She came back with 11, but big finishes inside, and let's not forget about Nicole Ignashik's 14 in the second half.
Exactly.
She was a bully down there.
You know, and even there's little plays in the mix. We saw a moment ago Dayton Groninger, the shot clock was winding down. So she created herself, step back, hit the three. That was a huge shot.
Yeah. A freshman playing beyond her years, and it always feels like the moment's not too big for her. She makes mistakes, but I love her fearlessness. I love her aggressiveness.
Great big three there by Carly, give the Wildcats back the lead. They worked the ball inside, you know, tied up at 56. It's getting to be crunch time here. That was a big shot again for Carly. But when you're playing with confidence, shots like that are going to go.
What we talk about a lot. If you let a player get going, all of a sudden shots like that, like Carly had, Nicole's probably going to have one here at the end of the shot clock. Those are tough shots, but they feel good because they've gotten a rhythm going early.
You mentioned Nicole's 22. You know, she can't get 22 if your guards don't do a great job of getting her the ball when she has good post position. They did that. I mean, that's a team thing. They got to get her the ball. She's got to finish, and it was as good last night as maybe I've seen in quite a while.
Yeah. I mean, Brittany Washington obviously had 10 assists, but I felt like Katie Key, Anna Imhoff, Dayton, and anybody that came off the bench, even Carly was doing a good job. Our post-to-post passing on the interior was really good.
And even though Anna had only 11 points, I mean, they were trying to shut her down. She didn't force anything, but when you needed that big three out of the corner just a second ago, that to me was maybe the biggest shot of the ball game.
Yeah.
It kind of extended your lead, and now the pressure's on Taylor.
Yeah, you know, a senior stepped up in a big way as a senior should, and that's kind of what Anna's done all year long. So it wasn't a shock to us. We needed it, and she stepped up and hit it.
Well, Coach, congratulations on the big win. Here's a big stat. 20 assists, that was huge, but 42 points in the paint. I don't know if you've had more than that this year, but certainly not against a quality opponent. So great job by the Wildcats in that one.
Yeah, it was a hard-fought battle. We don't want to have anything given to us. I felt like we earned this victory, and give a lot of credit to Taylor. I mean, they made us work. They beat us up. I was really proud of the effort that we had.
Well, it's a great way to maybe set up the final stretch of the regular season. Doesn't get any easier. Saturday, it's up to Fort Wayne against a very good St. Francis team who
you can say embarrassed us.
Yeah, really got you guys at home. And so it'll be interesting to see how your ladies respond to that game.
Yeah, this was a great win, but I told them they had 15 minutes to celebrate, and it's on to the next game because we've got a lot of work left to do. There's a lot of season left, so this is we're on the right trajectory, but we want to keep moving forward.
Well, Coach, thanks so much for stopping in, and best of luck on Saturday.
Appreciate it.
As we said, the Wildcats do indeed travel to St. Francis on Saturday. Tip-off against the Cougars is at 1 p.m. Well, when we come back, it's men's basketball. We're going to talk about their home game against the Taylor Trojans. Don't go away. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. The men's basketball team played against the Trojans of Taylor University. On Tuesday, the Wildcats were able to win for the 13th consecutive victory against Taylor, and they finished with the win by a final score of 95-86. The Wildcats were led by freshman Kyle Mangus, who had 30 points and 6 rebounds. Freshman Grant Smith had 16 points, along with 2 steals. Evan Maxwell had 14 points and 7 boards. Well, joining me now is men's basketball assistant coach Jordan Weidner to talk about a big victory against Taylor. And Coach, I know the night of that game, Perry Frank and I were impressed with the effort that really both teams brought to the table that night. You know, it's a rivalry game. I think Taylor, we've seen some steady, slow improvement from them over the last couple of years. They played really well that first half, and they played hard that first half.
Yeah, it was a fun environment to be in, with their students being there and us having a packed house, obviously. But with the way the conference is this year, there's a bunch of teams jumbled up right on the fringe of the difference being a game from 7th place to 3rd place. So that game and then these next games coming up, every team's going to be fighting for their season.
You know what's so interesting? Coaches will say this, and a lot of times people don't believe them. They think it's coach speak. But Coach Tonigal will tell us there is no off night in the conference. We saw that where Saturday the Wildcats beat Huntington by 27, I believe. Huntington comes back on Tuesday night and beats the #1 team in the conference by 20 in St. Francis. So you have to be ready to play every night. And I think the Wildcats were ready to play against Taylor, because even though Taylor had a really solid first half, you know, we were shooting the ball pretty well ourselves.
Yeah, it was a high-scoring first half, as you mentioned a little bit ago, and I think we'd played pretty good defense in the first half up until about the 3-minute mark, and then they just got hot and went from 23 points to, I think, finished with what, 40, high 40s. So
yeah, well,
there was
48.
There was a 2 or 3 minute spurt there where they scored 20+ points, but they did shoot the ball really well, and like you said, they just came out ready to play and ended up playing really hard. So we've got to give them a lot of credit as well.
Well, one of the things we've come to expect is or I think has developed maybe over the year, is the post play. Not only with Evan Maxwell, who we saw a little bit there, but Kyle Mangus posting up smaller guards, and then I include in that even guys like Joel Okafor, who have been able to break down the defense and drive it into the lane. And to me, that's a big improvement from what we saw early in the year.
Yeah, we spent a lot of time just drilling post feeding and making sure we're hitting the target. But I think a lot of it too is, you know, just figuring out how to play together. You know, at the beginning of the year, we had so many new pieces and so many new guys to fit in and learn the system. And I think now it's we're starting to see it click, and guys are getting a feel and a rhythm for each other.
Well, this was a point in the game where the Wildcats jumped out to a really nice lead early, but then Taylor just started, hitting threes like crazy. And Ryan Robinson, he hit some big threes. He's a deceiving kind of player, because if you come out too tight on him and don't play solid defense, he'll drive it right past you. And well, he had a nice ball game, but Kanan Coffey hit that three. Yeah, he had a big first half, but one of my unsung heroes, Ben Carlson, who creates the turnover there.
Yeah, Ben's been such a huge piece to why we're playing so well. Just his senior leadership, and you might look at him and he's not the tallest, he's not the quickest, not the most athletic, but I'm gonna put my money on him being the smartest basketball player on the court every single night we're out there. So his leadership and his experience has been huge for us during this stretch.
You know what we'll see a few times here, and that was just a crazy feed by Robinson. But this first half was important in terms of setting up the second half, because it was, one of those games where it's up and down, big plays being made, but you guys still continue to pound it inside. That paid dividends later in the game, because I do feel that you were able to wear them down a little bit. And how about Grant Smith? I'm jumping all over the place, but maybe the game of his career, 16 points, but he played solid on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, I think this was probably his best game of the year so far. He was just, like you said, offensively, defensively, he was sound, and he just seemed to make the right play every single time. And I was talking to him the other day. He has a unique ability to take the game over with his ability to pass.
This was huge, I felt, because Taylor might have had a little bit of momentum, but Carlson came up with the steal, Kyle Mangus with the dunk right before the half, and it kind of fired up the fans a little bit and gave the Wildcats that momentum going in the second half. Even though Taylor jumped out to a lead just momentarily, you guys got the lead back and then never really relinquished it.
Yeah, we have a lot of guys that can contribute, and I think that's kind of been the theme coming down this stretch of the last half of conferences. With our depth, by the time we get to the end of the games and how many guys we're able to play and many guys that can contribute, it just eventually wears on you and takes a toll on the other team. Yeah,
the first 10 minutes of the second half, first 9 minutes, it was much like the first, back and forth, and then we had that big play there by Kyle Mangus, who just shocks you sometimes with those plays. Looks almost like Jordan Weidner.
No, he's sneaky. He's such a smart player. He's so good with angles, and if you give him the slightest bit of daylight, he's going to take advantage of it.
Well, isn't that the thing? He'll take what the defense is giving. If you're going to come out at him, he'll put it on the deck and go by you. But if you don't, he'll pop the three. But he doesn't force anything, is what I love about his game.
Yeah, probably a very underrated and overlooked statistic for him over the last 4 games is he has a 16-to-1 assist turnover ratio. Yeah. So it seems like he's kind of maturing a little bit in his ability to understand of drawing the defense and being able to make plays for others too.
You know, and this was the point in the game. It's winding down. The Wildcats get the lead. That was a great feed from Mangus. Shot clock was running down, but he didn't force a shot. He saw Carlson was open, got the even better shot.
Yeah, you don't find his poise and his calm demeanor late in games very often, so it's definitely a luxury to be able to have that on our side.
You know, a credit to the Trojans. They never, I ever felt, got to the point where they gave up or didn't provide effort, but I do think that their three-point shooting in the last 6-7 minutes was not what it was early in the game, and I do think it's because we wore them down a little bit.
Yeah, as I said earlier, a lot of credit to them for their season being on the line, and you know they played and they fought hard. But I just think again it goes back to just our depth and our ability to constantly throw bodies out there that can contribute. And by the end of the game, you know, we get down to 4 or 5 minutes left in the game. That takes a toll on the other team.
Wildcats actually kind of gave a little exclamation point with that Mangus to Maxwell alley-oop. A couple big threes there at the end for the Trojans that made the final score what it was. But again, the huge victory, and now up next for the Wildcats. Last question, Coach. Big game on the road at St. Francis. It should be a whale of a ball game. It's really it could determine who is the regular season conference champion.
Yeah, it's sticking to that theme of your next game is your biggest game, and that's definitely gonna be the case this Saturday. But I think our guys are gonna be ready. And it's not being too caught up in the moment and just taking it one play at a time and valuing each possession that we have.
All right. Well, thanks for stopping by, Coach Jordan Weidner. As we said, next up for the Wildcats, a road game at St. Francis, Saturday, February the 10th, 3 p.m. Game time up at St. Francis. Well, when we come back, we'll check in with Jordan Langs to hear about what the football team is up to. So stay tuned. That's right. Well, welcome back to Wildcat Week. The Indiana Wesleyan University football team is preparing for their spring season that is quickly approaching. Joining me now to talk about what the football team is up to is the head coach of the Wildcats, Jordan Langs. It's been a little bit, Coach Langs, but we thought we'd catch up with you. We talked a lot about football last fall and that first class that came in, but you guys have been pretty busy in the off season. You had, a practice schedule in the fall, but now in the winter and spring, what have the Wildcats been up to?
Yeah, so your football season is your football calendar year is split up at essentially 4 quarters. You've got your football season, and the second quarter is what we're in now, which is recruiting, and then our kids are in our strength conditioning stuff. So we're in a combination. Our coaches are full go recruiting and kind of wrapping up this class now, and then our players are 4 lifting sessions a week with 3 runs a week, and they're like every other team in America. They're battening down the hatches, training, and looking forward to the first kickoff.
Well, let's talk a little bit about recruiting. Obviously, last year, that first recruiting class, you have to start a team from scratch. You've got to get numbers in here. You've got to get guys in here. Had about 60? Let's say about 60 new faces on the scene in the fall. Now for this year, you were looking for what, about 40, 45?
Yeah, we would like to operate the team this year in the 90 to 100 range for the roster. It's a balance because we're playing 10 varsity football games, so you got to have a roster that with some depth, ready for injuries and durability and things like that. But you also got to project into the future. Every kid that you take now you're decreasing a spot for somebody in the future. So you got a balance between what's our immediate need and how are we going to project the roster size in the future.
And even in this second year, only the second year of recruiting, you have a little bit of idea of maybe where you need to add depth, where you need to refine things. So you've been able to start that process a little bit.
Yeah, so it was a nice, last year was so crazy. Me being hired 2 Augusts ago, but not getting boots on the ground till December. And we put together a nice recruiting class. But the second season going in, you have, last year we were recruiting off of
a pile of dirt and pictures,
Yeah.
right? And we're showing them things that things might look like. And now you bring it in, and now the vision for your program is personified through your current players. You get to see the locker room, see the stadium, and you get to see kind of the plan for everything, and it's so much more tangible now. So for this recruiting class, you have that, plus you start to understand where your roster's at, where you need to fill, what's your need, things like that. So it's been a lot different year because your plan of attack has been a lot more specific.
I think I know the answer to this question, but what kind of response are you getting from players, from maybe other high school coaches that come in when they see the facility, when they see the stadium, they see your locker room and weight room? I think some of them are a little bit shocked and surprised.
Yeah, well, here's the thing that helps us is the way we do social media has really been a huge weapon for us. So a lot of times you can show these kids what it's about before they even arrive. So you're getting kids coming through the door because of the amount of marketing that we've been able to do. Once they're through the door, it's like every other sport in our athletic department where they're shocked by the level of excellence, the commitment to spiritual and academic growth, and man, I can be at a place where all three of those things get to be combined into one experience. It's pretty unique.
Well, you brought up something else I was going to ask you about. I've been around you and the coaching staff enough, and I've seen you recruiting where there are a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of places a kid can go play football. There are a lot of places they can get an education. But I know you have been very, very forthright and very intentional in talking about the spiritual component to this school and this program, and how that is just a whole nother element and dimension of what you want this program to look like.
Yeah, so at a lot of football programs, you're essentially separating a kid's personal life from his football life, where, hey, your job is to go to class and show up to practice. Well, we're saying that's not just your job. We want to give you an experience where, more importantly than your football and athletic growth, is going to be your spiritual development and your relationship with Jesus Christ, and that experience. And because the kids are going to get it in the classroom, they're going to get it when they're at chapel, they're going to get it when they're at a football building too. So this is a very different experience, and the great thing is that's a great niche to sell in recruiting. Is we're not like anybody else in the country. This is a different place, and we need kids here who are going to embrace what that difference is. And our Christ-centered culture on campus and in the football program is a big part of that.
Some exciting things for the public coming up now. Believe it or not, warmer weather is around the corner. Spring practice starts March the 12th, but then in April the 14th, it'll be the first ever spring game. Don't have a time for that yet, but we'd love to see the fans come out and get a look at these Wildcats.
Yeah, so we're kind of seeing it as our dry run for what a home football game is going to look like. So TV station out there, we'll have the cheerleaders, we'll have the team, and we want it to be a fan experience because it's the first time. People are coming to watch our exhibition games, you know, this fall, which was awesome. Well, now this thing's going to be ready to rock. The stadium's ready to go, and you get to a more robust experience. So we're excited to kind of be, like we've always been, an open door to the community and to kind of show them where this thing's progressing to.
Well, Coach, exciting things on the horizons for Wildcat football, and we're looking forward to it.
Thanks.
And we'll be there. WIWU will be there for the spring game.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right. Well, as we said, come on out on April the 14th and catch the Wildcats in action at that spring game. It should be a great time. Well, that's all we have for you here on this episode of Wildcat Week. If you'd like to see more of Wildcat Week, you can visit our website. That's at WIWTV.com. There you can watch past episodes. Connect with us online. Once again, that's at WIWTV.com. You can stay connected with us and all our local programming to subscribing to our YouTube channel. That's WIWTV 51. Well, we look forward to seeing you next week. So for all of us here, thank you for watching Wildcat Week.